Alright, moving a bit. Right, so the mount, I'm happy with the state of the mount. And here we have our lens capsule. Now in the intermediate, while everything's been happening, I've cleaned the glass on here, so I needed to check and make sure that it was fit for purpose before I invested any more time in it. And it did clean up very well, there was no problem there. So I need to clean the helical thread that racks this lens forward and backwards out of the camera body to focus the lens. The focus did turn quite smoothly, but it felt very dry. Here's the piece that mates to it. And this will have to be lubricated appropriately. I'll check the fit of that, check the feel of it. Multi-start thread, of course, they're always entertaining to get started. That's better. Yeah, it's smooth enough, just needs a bit of lubrication. So I have a little bit of helical grease here. Helicals very rarely need much grease. It serves to provide some lubrication so the movement is smooth. It serves to provide some damping so that the focus settings are not disturbed easily by accident. With a rangefinder camera or indeed an SLR where you are working with the camera up to your eye when you're setting the focus, it's important that the focus be quite smooth and easy to move. With a viewfinder camera where you set the focus distance without having the camera up to your eye, the focus can be much stiffer. That's even an advantage because it means you don't accidentally bump it after setting the focus distance and then holding the camera up to your eye to take a photo. So I'll remove that front component now. I'm quite happy with that. There's a groove here, that's where there's a post in the mount that guides the lens backwards and forwards, and likewise where the tab is that shifts the diaphragm open and closed. I'll put a tiny bit of molybdenum paste there so that they move smoothly. Now I have to align my lens and the tab with this all at once. It's entertaining, but not impossible. Let's make sure I've got this round the right way. Where's the tab I'm interested in? There it is. So I've got one of the tabs, I'm moving it with my thumb here to control the position of it, and I have to get the tab and the fixed post, I have to make sure that they match on the lens, on the capsule here, and in the body, so that everything drops into place correctly. And that's an awful lot easier said than done. Well, it's aligned with the tab in the body, that's no problem, but the tab for the opening of the diaphragm is not aligned, so I've got to have another go at that. No, it's not coupled. Where is it? Oh, I can just about see it down there. Well, the diaphragm is coupled to its lever now. I've got to get this seated in its body as well. There are ways to cheat here. I mean, don't normally have to go that far. Where is that post? Something is not happening. No, that was not it. Start again. This time I think we're cooking with gas. That's good. The diaphragm is opening correctly. I can put the front part of the helical in place. And fit the fixing screws. We have 3 washers and screws. That's the ugly one with the damaged head. I'll take the opportunity to knock that piece of damaged metal off that screw head because I don't want it falling off and causing me any grief. It's just where somebody had their screwdriver in there and allowed it to cam out and it had torn up a little piece of the head of the screw. Just a tiny shaving of metal, but tiny shavings of metal have a habit of causing grief if they get into the wrong place. Of course, it may have stayed stuck to that screw head for all time without causing any problems. But better safe than sorry. Besides, somebody might think I'd done that. That's the other aspect of camera repair, of course, is when you see a camera that's been repaired before, the assumption is that anything ugly you see inside was the result of the last person who'd serviced the camera. If the camera's old enough and has been serviced regularly, generations of people will have been involved in servicing it previously. So it's not necessarily the last person that caused the grief. It could have been any of his predecessors. This screw, for one reason or another, doesn't want to start. My tweezers may be slightly magnetic. That would be a problem. Now we're cooking with gas. That's 2 out of the 3. They're not usually this troublesome, it's just that you're looking over my shoulder. Now I'm checking that the lens moves all the way to the infinity mark. It does. Those screws are only very lightly done up. I need to check the focus now. I'll need to make sure that the focus is correct at any setting at all really, but in practice at infinity. So I'll check the focus and then make adjustments as necessary. All right. Had a quick look there and I can see that it's focusing beyond infinity. In other words, the lens is deeper into the camera than it should be. So we'll back it out a bit. I'll shift my focus ring back and we'll see how it goes from there. This is why I didn't do those screws up tight, just nip them up lightly, because I'm going to have to make adjustments until the focus is correct. This doesn't affect the rangefinder on the camera, this simply affects the focus of the image at the film plane. The adjustment of the rangefinder is a result of the focus mount, the movement of the focus mount, not the optical focus of the lens itself. Right, now that doesn't quite reach infinity. So back a bit the other way. A viable alternative to using infinity as your focus point is to use a close focus distance that matches one of the positions on your focus scale of the lens. Typically something around 2 meters, it would be quite good. Closer if you can achieve it. Well, where the lens is set at the moment is spot on for infinity, but the focus scale is not round to the infinity position, so I've got to loosen my screws, and without disturbing the lens, move my focus scale ring around to the infinity position. Lock my screws up and check the result. I'm pretty confident of this one. I think I can need slightly more than that. Let's move that back a bit. Picking the point of sharp focus or sharpest focus can sometimes be awkward, particularly on a plain ground glass. I'm using a split image screen, and that makes it considerably easier. That's it. That's good. I'm more than happy with that. So the lens basically has been dealt with. We have this filter mount name ring to go back on. So I'll just give that a quick wipe. There's not much to see here. It only goes in one position. It's got a small tab on it which goes into a little recess in the front of the lens here. And it's held in place with this conical retainer. Which can be fun to get started, particularly if the thread on the front of that lens is a bit distorted, and I happen to know it is because it bit and scratched when I was taking it apart. Using a friction tool there to make sure that that's all tight. I'll check this filter ring to make sure there's no wobble there. That appears to be good. And there we have it. Focus is not. Oh, there's a bit of tightness to that focus. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Let me have a look. I wasn't feeling that earlier. It may be the rangefinder. Remove that lens and see if it's smooth on the off the camera is on. There's a bit of roughness there. There's a bit of something feels a bit rough there. Might have to investigate. Oh, okay. Yes, I know what's happened here. Basically what it'll be the lens capsule here is slightly off centre and it's rubbing on that mount. That's almost certainly what it is. Let's see if I can improve that. Let's just take that off and check that that's exactly what I'm feeling. I think that's the case. Let me slacken these 3 screws off. Try pushing that across to one side. Retighten those screws. Check the action. That's quite stiff. That was obviously not the right way to go. Slacken those 3 screws. Pull it over this way as far as I can. Nip those 3 screws up. Oh, that's got a nasty feel to it. Something odd's going on there. Right, out with that lens capsule, find out what's going on. I'll report back once I've got it sorted. Well, it's all together. I'm happy with the feel of that now. That problem with the lens, yeah, that was entertaining. You might remember I said that there was a small screw that was the post for the fine spring, which I didn't really want to disturb because it was a problem to get the spring off safely, and it was a problem to deal with that tiny screw. That tiny screw had worked its way loose, presumably when I was swinging the sectors around in order to get the lens assembled, and as a result the sector that it was holding, that clamp, had shifted, and it had shifted so that it was grinding. The corner of that sector was dragging in the aluminium, so it was making it rough. Now it's nice and smooth. I had to remove that tiny spring. I had to remove that screw, check everything, put everything back together, do the screw up nice and tight, and now everything is happy. So I did get there in the end. It was just a wee hiccup on the way, and this nice Retina IIIS rangefinder camera is ready to go home to its owner. And I'm pleased to see the back of it, I think. Thanks for watching.